that is Critical Cricks. Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we will be painting WizKid's Owlbear, one of my favorite woodland animals. Pretty much a mix between a bear and an owl. Pretty neat. And I just wanted to say I'm sorry about the content drought. There will be more content coming up, but sometimes life happens. So we're going to start out with Oak Brown. And I'm going to go in and do a nice base coat here. Now, my initial thoughts here, I wanted to go with almost like a bald eagle type color scheme here. So I'm going to be going in with this dark brown, and I'm going to leave the underbelly and part of the wings and the face white. And we will go in with an off-white here. But for now, we're just going to go in with that dark brown. So just going to spread that paint into all the crevices. Next, I'm going to go in with some fur brown. It's just a little bit lighter of a brown from the monster brown that we started with. And I'm just going to go in and go against the edges of where the off-white is going to be, just to give it some color variation. So here, I'm using a technique called wet blending. And what that is, you go in with another color on top of a color that hasn't dried yet. And the idea here is that the two colors will mix together to form a nice blend effect. And it'll make your model look a lot more organic here. I'm going to use a stippling effect here, which is just taking your brush and dabbing around. You don't want to cover the whole model with this lighter color brown. You still want the dark brown to shine through. So we're just going to go through and stipple all that color around on the model, just to give it that variation. Next, we're going to go in with a off-white. It's almost like an ivory white. And I'm going to go in and paint the underbelly and the face here. And you're going to start to see kind of like a bald eagle resemblance here. And that's what I was going for. So here, we're going to give it a pretty generous coat of this off-white. Simply because we haven't painted this area yet. So if you get a little messy with it and get it into the brown, that's okay. That's just going to add to the effect, the blending effect of the feathers going from that white to the light brown to the dark. And that's what you want. If it was just a straight looking line, it would look right. So as long as you keep it within limits, it should look good. Alright, now that the belly and the face are done, let's go in on the edges of these wings and put that same off-white. Now, this was a gamble on what I was doing, but I thought it would be pretty cool to have the dark brown and then it goes to a white light color of the wings here. So I'm going to go in pretty heavy on the underside. Now for some demonic yellow, we'll go in and start off with the eyes. Just giving it a nice, good dab of the demonic yellow. Next up, the beak. We're going to use the same yellow to fill in here. I'm just going to get a good nice coat on the beak here. Now we're going to use pure red here and pixie pink. And we're going to mix the two together to make a darker reddish pink color. And once it dries, it'll look good and look like an organic mouth. Next up is some Monster Brown. And we're going to go in with some dry brushing. Now the Monster Brown is that lighter color brown we used. Now I'm not going to go over the model completely here. I'm just going to dab and dry brush a few areas that I think where the feathers would be a little bit lighter. So that's all I'm doing here. And I'm going to give it a pretty good healthy amount. Almost all of it's going to be covered, but not 100% here. Next up, Desert Yellow, one of my favorite colors. And all we're going to do here is we're going to go in and highlight this model. I like the Desert Yellow because it gives it like a yellowish tint to the feathers here. And I think that looks good, just to give it a good color variation. Then we're going to go in with some black ink from Vallejo here. And I got to thinking, wouldn't it be cool to have some black tipped feathers? You see it all the time in nature. So I'm just going to go through and add that and give it a nice, good coat here on the tips of the wings. Next up, the face. We're going to start with the Owlbear's, I guess, the eyebrows. I guess that's what they are. And I'm just going to give it a nice pencil in here. Once that's done, we're going to go in the edges of the face here, just to give it some more black tip feathers here on the face. And I feel like this step really starts to distinguish the features of this animal, and it looks really cool. And then to touch up some spots on the head here, I'm just going to add some more black to it where that white was. And now let's make some eyes. So I'm going to put in like a nice good dot here. And I had to look up how owls' eyes look. And they have this nice big pupil in the middle of their iris. So that's what I'm trying to do here. And wow, does that make it come alive right there. That looks pretty cool. I'm going to go with that right there. So then I got the crazy idea, hey, let's put some brown on the face here, just to give it even more color variation. And man, oh man, I'm glad I did this step. This really made the model look 10 times better by putting this brown in there. So now I'm just going to use whatever browns I had left on my palette, and I'm just going to color the base. And lastly, some black ink on the nails here, or claws I should say. Doing another manicure. Now the model's pretty much done. I'm going to super glue it to its base. Now I did go in and put some foliage on the base just to give it a more foresty look to it. I've done that on other videos, so feel free to check those out. But until then, we are going to look at these final action shots. Enjoy.